I'm in Max. You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Thank you for joining us for Season 17, Episode 18 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm Proby Tim.
This is Stork. Hi.
And let's see. We have a game convention coming up President's Day weekend. I booked my room.
Did you?
Good for you.
Yes, I did.
Excellent.
I may have both children with me this time.
Ooh.
So I may run all kids' games.
That was very
That'd be
successful.
fun.
Yes. Thinking about running Swords and Wizardry, actually.
Yeah, I saw that on your post on the forums. I linked a kids version game that's kind of loosely based on Swords and Wizardry.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's called Dagger for Kids.
I saw it. I didn't click on it, though. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll check
it's published by Brave Halfling, who was the original official publisher of Swords and Wizardry White Box.
Oh,
So there's
okay.
a good connection there.
Right.
Worth taking a check.
I will do that.
I've heard very good things about it for kids gaming.
I was thinking about actually letting the kids make their characters, because character gen in Swords and Wizardry is very quick.
Same with this Dagger for Kids.
Okay.
You just
That's
check it
cool.
out. It's
Okay.
it's pretty good.
I will.
I've read over it once, and I was like, wow, if I had kids to run for, I would totally run this.
We could probably get enough kids like together as between everyone's children and stuff.
Yeah, my kids look at me and all of my hobbies like this, and they just shake their heads and walk away and go, oh, God.
Oh.
God.
Zachary's waiting for the next time that we play a role-playing game.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That's really cool.
The other thing, I told them that they want to start streaming Minecraft. So I got to.
They want to start streaming it.
streaming it. So
Oh,
I
nice.
got a realm. I renewed the realm that we
Nice.
had, and right now they're watching YouTube videos of people playing Minecraft, taking notes of things they're doing right and things they could be doing better.
Nice.
Oh, nice. You know what? Can I plug something that's not gaming related?
Plug it.
Okay, so you should have them check out my stepson's videos called Andrew's Games.
Mm-hmm.
It's done through a company called FX Aided, FXATED.
Mm-hmm.
And Angie, who used to be on the podcast,
Yes.
works for them, and he does all of the videos for it, all,
cool.
all the special effects, and it's all about like Andrew living real world video game stuff. It's really cool.
Oh,
Check it out.
nice.
Excellent.
If I would have thought ahead, I would have brought the URL, but I wasn't planning on bringing it up.
Give it to me and I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. I'm quite impressed with the videos that they're coming out with. They've done like Plants and Zombies videos
Nice.
and some Minecraft videos. They did some Portal videos where Andrew accidentally dropped a TV on his head because he tried to portal a remote to him. And that's what I mean. It's funny
That's
stuff.
awesome.
Yeah, it's funny stuff. It's good.
Okay. In this episode, we're going to be talking about what is it? Planning versus improvising games.
Okay.
I changed the topic
Good.
this morning.
Okay.
Right.
Surprise!
Ta-da.
Because the other one wasn't quite a fully formed idea. Gaz writes in with some questions. Talon writes in about PC versus PC conflict. Marco asks about game systems for the Expanse series, and Gurkuman? Gurkuman? Gurkuman?
Gurkuman.
What do you say? You're the expert with G's.
That's never going to die.
Responds to the
No,
the salty
things don't
email
die
that
on the
set
show.
me off.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun.
The guy actually responded to, and I didn't put that in here, but I'll bring it up in a minute.
Okay.
So if you can follow us on Twitter at HappyJacksRPG, that's HappyJacksRPG, all one word. Also on Instagram, we're the same thing, HappyJacksRPG. Find us on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. You can go to our forum, happyjacks.org/forum. Very, very nice. I've now banned 2 people.
Really?
2 people.
I've decided my BS threshold has gone down. And it's
Probably.
like, no, you're doing the same thing that, sorry.
As Dave would say, you have now banned the most dramatically appropriate number of people.
2 people.
If you ban the person I think you have, you've given them a long time to put a lot of stuff out
You haven't
there.
been on the forum in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I check it every day.
He's a lurker.
Well, actually, I didn't. One of them
I
technically
plussed
didn't ban.
something
Yeah,
today.
the first one wasn't a ban. He
I said go away.
nuked himself.
Anyway, live stream. If you'd like to watch the show live, you can find us at happyjacks.org/live. If you don't want to do that, you can go to happyjacks.org/twitch, which will take you to our Twitch channel, or happyjacks.org/YouTube, which will take you to our, oddly enough, YouTube channel.
You too.
Because they're not on the Google Pluses anymore, which is how I used to watch these. They'd be archived there, and I'd be like,
Why Google Plus make when you know Google Plus have you don't want to make? Operation Why listeners make when you know listeners have you don't want to make. In order to expand the reach of Happy Jack's douchebaggery, we're asking you, the listeners, to share 2 links from Happy Jack's on two links to the social media outlet of your choice. It might be a link to your favorite episode on Facebook. It could be one of the many resources that are on the webpage. It could be a time code, a timestamp in the middle of a YouTube video where someone says something stupid.
Or funny.
Or funny.
hilarious.
it could be a lot of
Or
timestamps.
interesting.
It could be a lot of timestamps. So there you are. And do that for us. 2 links on social media.
2 links.
Yes. 2 links.
And now it's time for can you hear it?
Yes.
Yeah.
A tip of the week. I have one this week.
Oh, that's
Unless
all
someone
right.
else has one.
All right.
No.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go for
right.
it.
When you start a campaign, make here an interesting place.
You mean your house right here?
No, where the game starts. Where the game starts. Many games, especially fantasy games, by default involve travel and exploration. The problem for GMs, of course, is that you don't know which direction the PCs are going to go, assuming there's more than one direction. And if you don't think there's more than one direction, the PCs will inform you that there is by choosing it. Instead of using your starting town as a springboard to go to other places, set the first few adventure hooks in the city. Local missing persons case, something strange coming out of the sewers, a monster living under a bridge. Give the starting city some time to develop. Populate it with NPCs. Give it a history and potential adventure.
Yeah.
Let the PCs stay there just long enough and give them some personal tie-in to make it feel like home before they leave. That is my tip.
We played in a game like that once, and you and I wanted to leave the city after the first day. We
This
were
is a dangerous
we're
place.
like, screw this place, we're out of here. And everybody else is like, and they had tie-ins with the city and everything. We're like, F this town, F these people, F this place. So be careful
Right. Oh yeah. That's
about
true.
how much
That's
drama
true.
you put your characters through
That's true.
right off the bat.
I'm reading the Dresden Files RPG specifically for the city creation
Uh-huh.
because I want to use it in a game that I'm going to run. And I think that pretty much supports your tip of the week. Because really that's what you do is you create a city, you give it interesting stuff, and then that's where your players play.
Yep.
In that city that you've created with all that interesting stuff.
Yep.
I'm kind of not going into detail because I haven't finished reading it yet. But
Speaking of Dresden, I'm rereading or re-listening to the Dresden Files books. Oh, sorry. I haven't put my mic back on. I'm rereading or re-listening to the Dresden Files books right now.
uh-huh.
I just started Grave Peril, which is the 3rd book.
Third book, yeah.
And it is certainly the book where everything takes off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I on Twitter, I posted yesterday, the day before, that,
I saw that.
it is no coincidence that's also the first series that has Michael, who
I'll-
is
It is, yeah.
my favorite character.
It
Yeah.
also, he starts to find his voice with that series. He starts to find his writing style improves.
Yeah,
I think
it does.
as a writer, he really started cooking at that point.
He's also expanding on the universe of magic.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, here's Michael. Michael has faith. Faith is a very powerful sort of mysterious magic to Harry.
Right.
This
Right.
is not stuff
Yeah.
he understands. Plus, we also see a lot more of the Never Never, and we see more of Leah, his
The
fairy godmother,
the Lian
Lianshi.
Lianshi.
Yeah. And she, but you start to see more of these pieces. That's also, I think, I'm not through it yet, but that's also, you meet the Black Court vampires,
Yeah.
and you meet all kinds of other creatures at the party, which I'm not to yet. But this is my 2nd or 3rd reading through it. So.
Yeah.
That's a
'Cause
great
I-
series. I love
I
that series.
read online that is it the 16th book that's coming up, or the 15th?
I don't know. I kind of got stuck on the 13th, and I don't want to say stuck.
Ghost Story.
What's that?
Ghost Story.
It's the one where he. I don't know if I can say this without giving away too many
Spoilers.
spoilers.
Is it Ghost Story?
Spoilers.
Would the title seem to be Ghost Story depending on what's happening to him at the time?
No, it's the one where he goes
To the Never Never.
to Mexico to find a certain little girl.
Oh yeah.
Is that
That's
13?
blood something.
Yeah, that's
Blood rights?
early. Yeah.
That's not early.
Well,
No, that's it's past 10. I just don't know exactly what.
Oh, okay.
Because he doesn't number them. It's
It
they're
might
all
be.
just titles.
Well, he did it first.
yeah.
I can't wait to the White Court Vampires and the porn one. That's one of my
Right.
favorite ones.
But I don't want to say I got stuck because I didn't. I had just powered through all the books up to that non-stop, like day to day. I just
Right.
I binge read. Oh, this is good.
He's taking a break because he's written another book, which I read already.
I see. The reason I started rereading it is he's in the middle of writing whatever the next book is right now.
Okay.
So he's back. He had started writing it, and like, and
Still mad at him.
I'm
for it.
still pissed off.
Where's my book?
Then he started writing some book series I have no interest in, and he's finished that. But now he's back writing, I guess 16. I'm not sure.
Dude, 16 books, 16 novels.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
And we're bitching that he hasn't finished the next
I know,
one yet.
and right. God, finish it, hurry.
Finish
I think
it.
he got caught up in his own power creep and he needed to take a break. Like, how do I fix this? Just like we do.
Right,
When we're
he
gaming.
needed
You're
to
like,
go to the bathroom.
Right.
You know what? You're gonna find giant robot spider tanks in the next one. I
Right.
guarantee it.
Just like any GM, like
So-
when everybody went up to their
Right.
cheer, he's like, "Now what do I do? I gotta. Can we put the game on hold for a little while till I restructure it?"
Someone's gonna run in with a gun, sitting atop a giant arachnid robot tank.
Right.
All the tropes in
man.
one right there.
Well, is it in Deadbeats, the one where he rides the
The
undead
T-Rex?
dinosaur? Yeah.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
So
An undead T-Rex.
Amazing. So
All right.
amazing. Did we America?
It's in the shot.
I'm moving it.
So it's like, yeah, I know.
It's all
It's just
foreshortened. It's like this
incredibly
giant
prominent.
giant cup sitting at the side.
Yeah, it's just,
This episode of Happy Jack sponsored by Del Taco.
No, it's not. It's
No,
not
it's not.
sponsored
It's
by
not
Del
sponsored by
Taco.
Del
It's
Taco.
not.
Although it could
although,
be.
if you want to sponsor us,
Yeah, right.
yeah, sponsorship opportunities.
See that?
So I wanted to talk about planning versus improvising,
Okay.
kind of mid-game,
Okay.
not like the very beginning stuff,
Okay.
because that's all planning,
Yeah.
very little improvising. And I had a kind of a question for everyone, and I kind of jotted out my own notes. So what I'm looking at here is kind of like my own thoughts on the thing. But for you, how does game prep planning differ from improv planning? And I'll ask you guys first, because I kind of came to a realization as I was coming up with this in my head.
So repeat the question one more time.
How does your game prep,
Game prep.
planning differ from your improv planning? Now, improv planning is obviously, oh, the party just did something I didn't expect. I need to come up with
So-
something right now.
Right.
There's
So it's
actually
not
lack of
really
planning.
It's not
Yeah,
really planning.
yeah.
It's just improv. But what is the process? How does the process of planning out this is what's going to happen in the next game, or this is what's going to happen in the game, differ from the process of this is what's going to happen right now? Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, your first big thing is I can sit down and spend days thinking about what's going to happen in the next game session. I
Right.
have precious seconds to think of what's going to happen right now when they've decided to take that left turn.
Maybe minutes.
Maybe minutes.
I mean-
If you take a bathroom
if you
break.
take
Hey,
a
you know what?
bathroom
I'm
break,
hungry. Let's order dinner.
let's order dinner.
Yeah.
But my point is, you don't get days to think about that unless it's the end of a session.
Right.
And,
True.
But then you've fallen out of improvising and back into planning.
Yeah. The
Right.
chat room, by the way, says that this was a brilliant move on your part, not telling us the topic ahead of time, so we have to improv our answers to this question.
Oh,
Yeah.
check.
Oh.
Unintentional. Unintentional.
Oh.
But still, super
It
slick.
turns out I'm terrified about not giving my players a good time. I feel guilty. I beat myself up. I'm full of self-loathing if I feel like I have let them down. So a lot of that is self-imposed. So I make sure I prep the hell out of a game ahead of time. Like I make sure every town, every city is named, every building is like, so that I know that when they go somewhere, I have a plan. I have a thing. I can do that. So I think I pay it forward. I spend a lot of time building my world so that I am comfortable if they decide to make a left turn. I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Although I didn't plan for them to go into the crime boss's house, I can do this. I have stuff. I've
Right.
thought about who the crime lords are. So for me, I need to pay it forward. I need to front load it so that I feel comfortable when they make a left turn.
Okay.
Because I don't want to let my players down. I feel a great responsibility to make sure they have a good time.
This podcast has, since I've been involved with it, has completely changed the way that I prep games. Even as recently as the now infamous Shit Zombies game. I used to plan games very D&D module like, because that's what I did,
Right.
right? Just finding modules, and that is all sorts of prep, like
Yeah.
crazy amounts of prep, and not so much on the improvisation, because theoretically you have, I don't want to say railed your players into following your module, because it's not that bad, but you have, well, what happens if they take this obvious choice number one? Well, all of this happens. What happens if they take this obvious choice number two? All this happens. Now I follow what we've said, which is just come up with problems. Don't worry about the solutions. So, like Stork said, my prep consists of, making sure I know the area well, right? Making sure I know the people in the area well, and then just throwing down a problem and reacting to that problem that the players come up with a solution for. And your improv then becomes just knowing all of your NPCs well enough to be able to react as them, same as when you're playing a regular character.
Right.
If you know that the blacksmith really hates dwarfs, and one of the PCs is a dwarf and they're going to come in and commission some work, then you can improv on that very easily. So I think they kind of tie in hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely don't go quite to Stork's extent.
But I love world building, though.
Right.
I really get
Right.
caught up in it. I really enjoy it.
But I make sure that I have a basic map, or that I've picked a place that I know really well. Like, for example, my last Wild Talents game that I ran at the con and that I ran for JackerCon, I picked Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So it's like, no matter where they wanted to go, it's like, I know that place. Like, oh, they want to go into the valley. That's where I live. I totally know the valley. So that way it's that, like, it sometimes does save a little bit of prep time, but I know it as intimately as Stork would know, like, a world that he created. And when I did, like, my Salem Witch Trials game, I printed out and I studied maps of Salem and Salem County and that area from that time period.
Yeah.
So, because all of that is in historical record, you can find all that stuff, and you can actually find where people's houses were and what, things like that. So all of that I provided to the players, but I also studied it myself, so I was able to kind of riff on that.
Sure.
Because I think that is what really makes your improv ideas successful. When they want to turn down that left alley, even if that's not really where you expected them to go, you've got to know what's down that alley. And if you have a map or a list, even if you don't necessarily come up with, like, I don't come up with all the maybe NPCs, but I always have a list of names, because that's something I am terrible at. I am such a perfectionist with names. Like, it's like anyone who's ever done character creation with me knows that the name is what I come up with absolutely last. I make the entire character, and then I think about it for like days. I'm like, what is the perfect name for this character? And it's really pathetic. But so coming up with names on the fly is not something I'm super great with. Usually and if I have to come up with a name, it usually ends up being a student from one of my classes in the past. And depending
Family
on
members.
family members, yeah. So
I've used coworkers before.
right.
too.
So
Two
prep.
of my NPCs in one of my last games
Right.
was my boss and his boss.
Yeah.
Their first and last names just reversed.
Yeah. So, spoilers, like, if you ever play my game and an NPC's name is Brandon, they're probably awful, because I don't know what it is about, like, students that I've had in my life. When they're Brandon, I love them dearly, but they're always a little bit of trouble. So just make sure it's a thing, and it's happened my entire career. I don't know why. But just having, like, that list of names, so you can kind of skin whatever character you need on top of that name, and also those stats. Just having a list, especially for convention games, because you have to have all the stuff ready right away, of like generic person, generic bad guy, sniper bad guy, like all those things. That's kind of how I prep for improving. While with, like, actual NPCs that they're going to meet, they're going to be flushed out. They're probably going to be a character that I created individually, not just pulled out of the back of the splat book or whatever. So that's what I do.
It's a lot easier to improv on a modern day game than it is, like a fantasy game, because your players could be like, wow, I want to go buy a walkie-talkie. Can I buy a walkie-talkie in this town? Yeah, sure. There's a Walmart right around the corner,
Right.
or a
Right.
Radio Shack. No, they don't exist anymore. Circuit City,
They-
Best Buy. There's Best Buy.
Okay.
But in a fantasy world, like, wow, I could really use a wand of ESP. Is there a magic seller in this town?
We used to have a
Well,
chain called
well,
Square Deal Sam's where you could buy magic
but
items.
then you have to be like, well, that depends. Let's see, how prevalent is magic in my setting? Okay, it's pretty prevalent. It's prevalent enough that there'd be a wizard in the town. Yeah,
Is the
there's probably
population
gonna be-
high enough that
is the population high enough
Yeah.
there's going to be a wizard in the town? Probably. Okay, is there going to be enough call for him to have opened up a shop? Maybe, yeah. Okay, so maybe a wizard, he has a cart that he drags around the town. So you have to put a lot more thought into that
Sure.
versus a modern day game.
And it depends how mundane or unmundane the thing is too.
True,
'Cause,
yeah.
You can also take your hometown and you can reskin that as a fantasy place.
Absolutely.
That's yeah.
Try changing the offset. You know how to do that?
Nope. Settings.
Click on that.
Uh-huh.
That thing.
Uh-huh.
Change that to 600.
Okay.
If that, and then ask them if the sync is fixed.
Not 600.
600.
Okay.
And if the sync isn't fixed, then we'll take
There's
it
not
to
a
12.
save button. If I click out of the window, does it save it?
You just just close it, and it should be.
Okay.
And then ask them if that fixed it.
Did that fix it?
They'll tell us, I'm sure.
The chat room I'm looking at isn't complaining about. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they
they
were.
are. Okay.
Yeah,
I
they
see
are.
them.
That's why I said it. The thing that I've noticed, the difference between improv and con prep planning, is that there really isn't a difference between it. There's the process you go through is exactly the same. It's just accelerated.
Yeah.
The only difference that I can think that I think is a real seriously important difference between improv and con game planning is when you are planning, mediocre ideas get thrown out. When you are improving, basically you're going to take whatever that first idea you come up with and you're going to run with
You're
it.
gonna
Yeah.
cling on to it like your,
And
your
it-
life depends on it.
And you have to.
Yes.
That's the difference. You have to commit to what your the idea, because you don't have time to sit there and say, well, let's see, what would be the most
Right.
Let me think about this. So you guys go ahead and eat. I'm gonna sit here and scratch my chin for a while.
Again,
and
that's
think
what
about-
bathrooms are for.
Right. But
even
even
then,
then,
yeah.
usually you're doing that because you don't have any idea.
yeah.
You just want something, right?
Yeah.
So when you improv, you take the very first idea you come up with,
Yeah.
and it's like, that's the best idea ever.
Ever.
Because
That's
it's
what
the
I'm-
one I came up with right now. Yeah.
Because it's the one we have.
It's the one we have. Yeah.
Can you give us an example from one of the games of where that happened?
Um,
Oh, good question. Story.
Ooh.
We'll play.
think.
Sit
haven't
around
had
and
enough
scratch your
caffeine
chin
for
for a
this.
while.
No, I'm trying to think because all that stuff blends in my mind.
Sure.
As
How about
being,
one of the Inukai games? Something that's done. Let's not try the mode. Let's try Inukai, where
the biggest thing is when you guys decided to leave town.
on the second one where we got on the ships.
No, the first
Oh, okay.
in the first one when you guys left.
Oh, right.
And
You're
you-
like, oh.
we're going to go on this mission, and I don't specifically remember. You were leaving with the women from the Lion Clan,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's right. We ended up camping out there and stuff. Right.
then once you got a certain distance away, the most senior of the Lion daughters told you that this was a ruse. We were supposed to lead you out here because your daimyo knew that you wouldn't allow him to be captured and he needed to be captured.
And that was made up.
That was made up.
Oh.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
Years
Had no
later,
idea.
the revelation.
And the reason that it happened because you guys took the plot to go ahead and go to the lion thing. I hadn't prepped anything for the lion thing yet, and I'm
Uh-huh.
trying to figure out, shit, I have a story here, a lot of it, and how can I make them stay?
That was a great way to do it.
Yeah. It was kind of like Mad Max. We went out for a little while on a road trip and then came back.
Right.
Oops, spoilers.
That's a whole movie. Just go there.
And then come back.
I'm back.
And then do it again.
And then you come back
Yeah,
a lot
and then do it
faster
again.
than
Yeah.
you did to get there.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that was one that was
All right.
basically made up on the spot. It happens a lot.
Yeah.
So were you able to take the ideas that you had that we were going to do in town and just do it on the road? Or were you
No,
just, was this like an
He
interlude?
just came up with the
I
idea to
diverted
send us
you.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
think, yeah.
I just made you change directions.
Okay.
But I think that's important. Like, there's two kind of types of improv when you're GMing a game. There's the get them back on track improv, which is Stu's example, and then there's the okay, they're here, let me create a place improv. And those are two very different things, and they can be equally difficult, I think. Sometimes it's easier to come up with like stranger NPCs than a really good reason to send them back where they just left or something like that.
again, I think because you had spent so much time creating your world, you were really comfortable being able to take us on this little road trip and seamlessly integrate a new plot scene.
And
I didn't see you sweating. I didn't see you thinking. I didn't see you, panicking. There might have been a bathroom break, but I don't remember it. But for the most part, I think you were already so comfortable because you'd already had your map. You had already had this clan kind of figured out. So you just riffed off of what you had set up.
Right. And I think I don't even think the fact that he was captured had been planned when I sat down.
Oh.
I think that all of that, I basically made all that stuff happen, and that kind of gets into the sort of prep that involves what other NPCs are doing, and this is kind of something I want to bring up next week when we talk about. Because someone suggested on the forum we talk about repercussions, in-game
That's a great
repercussions.
idea.
Yeah.
And that this kind of gets into that a little bit, but one of the crutches, you guys said the same thing, is that you, especially when you're playing a game where you're dealing with a lot of social interaction, you want to get into the heads of the NPCs and say, okay, in this situation, what is this guy going to do?
Yeah,
So I'm thinking of the other daimyo, not Renjiro, I forget his name, his older brother, who was actually in charge of the whole area that you guys were in. He's already been defied by his brother a couple of times. And I'm thinking in my head, at some point, he's just going to snap and just go and get him, and he's going to hold him and just take over because he's getting tired of this. And it's
And
it's
might as well do
Rokugan.
it now, I guess.
Right, and now it's as good a time as any.
You-
But figuring out how NPCs are going to react to the narrative that's happening, specifically, most importantly, what the characters are doing, I think is a really good crutch for improvising what's happening. I mean,
Yeah.
There is something that you always do in your games, I've noticed, and that is, regardless of what the PCs are doing, there's stuff that always is going on behind them. So, for example, there were all these political and social machinations going on in the Inukai game, and whether we were there or not, they kept going on.
Yes,
So it eventually, we would jump back on board, not the rails, but jump back on board the plot train again, because that's certainly more interesting than wandering around the wilderness, and stuff had happened.
yes,
That you kept going. So in many ways, you would just sort of have these. We would have these, I guess, quote, interludes where we would go off a bit, do something that we wanted to do, and then come back, and the plot had advanced. Sometimes whisking us along. Sometimes we just didn't know what to do. But that's something that I know that you always do. That regardless of what we do, your timeline keeps marching. Stuff keeps happening.
I tried to make that happen. Even
Yeah.
in the vampire game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When we started, we let almost a year of game time go by, and then when we started the last couple sessions, you found out, oh, look, the city's been installing this really sophisticated facial recognition camera system,
Or even less.
which is a very typical thing a city with a high crime rate's going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even less far-reaching than that. We spent like 3 days underground worrying about what to do when the Sabbat was coming, and we were all, oh my God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? And you were like, oh, just fucking go upstairs. Just go upstairs. And when we went out, the city had undergone changes. Like it was all different, and there was litter already all over the place, and people were starting to look downtrodden, and it was starting to look kind of ghettastic, ghetto-tastic.
Right.
And that was only for like 3 days.
Days, right, yeah.
Yeah, and like 3 or 4 days.
3 days.
3 days. So I came up with an idea while we were talking about this, about being able to improv NPCs, and specifically NPCs that aren't your named NPCs. And Kimmy had mentioned having a list of names so that I just need a generic NPC name. This is Bob Smith, right?
Come up with better names than that.
Horrible NPC name, I know.
That's why you have a list of names.
But for the purpose of this experiment, right? So what if instead of just coming up with a list of names, you actually came up with like 3 or 4 extra NPCs, and you assign to them, personality traits and likes and dislikes and all that kind of stuff. Don't worry about their impact on the scenario or something. Just come up with like
Basically
a
everything
skeleton,
but their occupation.
everything but their occupation, and then you can take this and say, Bob Smith, he likes collecting Barbies and works at the morgue, and he has a lisp. So you can You have instant NPC right there.
I do that all the time. I have like 4 or 5 NPCs when we run our con games just in case. Sometimes it's just a stat block, so
Yeah,
that
pretty
I'm
much,
not
yeah.
completely caught off guard when they're gonna take on the security guards. I need a security guard
And
stat. Here we go.
even if you get people who are like very uncharacter, like let's say, okay, we need an innkeeper. Okay, I'll take this NPC, and you happen to pick up the NPC who is the most antisocial person on the planet,
Right?
and everyone is going to wonder, how the hell is that guy have a bar that anyone wants to go into, right?
But now you've
The
made this,
incongruousness of
Yeah.
it makes it more interesting.
It makes it more interesting because then you've almost got the bartender from Dresden. He never talks to anyone hardly. When he does, he says like
Mac.
one word. Mac.
Yeah.
Yeah. All he does is like, here's your beer.
Yeah.
although in your D&D game, didn't you have a lizard man bartender? Bar owner?
Baru. Yeah.
Peru, yeah.
Well, he was a
Did you
dragonborn, I think.
Did you,
Yeah.
did you hiss a lot when he talked?
No, I don't think so.
No. I have to say though, the chat room, OMFG, so many usernames, has been listening to the Inukai game lately.
Oh, yeah.
And you just blew his mind with the fact
Oh
that...
shit! I spoiled it.
No. You didn't spoil it for him, but he was like, he actually just listened to the episode we were talking about, and he's absolutely amazed that the lion daughter coming, like, ruse was actually not planned, because it seemed super planned, and that Renjiro being captured was, like, not planned either.
No.
He's like, oh my god, that was amazing.
That side trip had huge ramifications for my character.
Yeah, it totally did.
That's yeah.
It was consistent with what Renjiro would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Renjiro it very much he felt the safe being of the people beneath him was important. Was a priority to him. He knew he was going to get captured. Whether you guys were there or not, it just means how many dead samurai are going to be on the ground by the time he's captured.
And
Right.
and your excuse for us being there was spot on, because had we been there, we would have been forced to.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He needed us not to be there and not be dead.
And and I don't think I was thinking this at the time, but it also took the guy in charge out of the picture.
Right.
And suddenly player agency is everywhere.
As everywhere.
Which is kind of almost what you did in the moat too. Oh yeah, he's dead now.
Right. I did that for
Lord Anthony,
exactly
yeah,
that reason.
yeah, Lord
and
Anthony.
in fact, it was a listener who commented on the fact that I said I did it again.
I did it again.
Yeah, I think
I went-
that was
I-
on the forum. Someone
Yep.
said, "Oh, it's another Ranjiro or whatever."
Right.
his name is."
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yes, he needs to go away.
I gotta say that you always have these mechanisms. Going back to my earlier comment, and with Moat, I feel like there's almost another game going on the mainland. Like, do you have another group of players that are playing all the other characters? Because every time we come out
You
there,
know
the
what?
mainland there's stuff that has happened that we don't know
Oh yeah,
about.
that's a lot.
And you're already doing it. I
When
almost,
I'm- when I-
feel like you have another group.
When
of-
I'm doing my planning for the game, like the planning I did for this game that's coming up tomorrow, I do a little synopsis of what happened from what I remember. I usually try to do it the night we play. I didn't, so I had to kind of go through my memory and remember what happened. And then underneath that, I put what might happen this session, and I'll put usually a list of small bullet points, or this person might show up, or this thing might happen, or this might happen, or whatever. Then I have what's going on with Sebastian, what's going on with Daniel,
so you do advance.
what's
it.
going on with the witch.
I know it.
With
So-
the- wait, you have things going on with the witch?
Of course.
You guys,
always.
Oh, this is
you guys
bad.
haven't been anywhere. You guys have stayed as
All sorts of
far
away.
away from her as you
Yeah.
could stay with, and still be on the same island.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we totally have.
And so of course,
I am so anxious to play.
which is the
tomorrow.
way she wants it.
Yeah.
certainly. I mean, I think you know that.
I am so anxious to play tomorrow. Just based on the 30 seconds of cliffhanger, I have a whole list of stuff that I want to do.
I don't remember what cliffhanger was.
I don't
No, yeah, no, we have plans.
Oh, do you? Okay.
We're so excited.
And I have plans that I haven't told anyone about because I thought it would be cheesy to be like, well, technically that cliffhanger just happened right now. I can't affect all kinds of crap. You know,
I have to go back and listen.
I have to
remember
borrow
the
your
cliffhanger.
printer.
Which one? The big one?
Yeah.
Okay.
the phone call. I don't want to give anything away in case people haven't listened to the episode
Yeah.
I
yet.
have to go back and listen to it.
There.
Really, you don't remember your own cliffhanger? It was one of the greatest things in the world.
Ever? It's fine. He'll go
I
back
don't
and
remember
it's
it.
fine.
It's
So
slack
we're
it to me.
playing tomorrow, so he's gonna catch up tonight.
You'll have to remind
Well,
me too.
I can always just listen to Samantha.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true.
it's true.
But that might be a little bit late because I want you to do stuff on that cliffhanger, and if you're like, oh,
I don't remember what it was.
Speaking of prep versus improv,
You see, he's so comfortable now improving. He's like, I don't need to know. I'll just make it up
Yeah.
once we hit the table.
And you know what? When you have a campaign where you know all the characters so well, you know us and our characters very well too. So it gets a lot easier especially if you're running a campaign, if you've done it for a while, to then start improving, because you can kind of, all right, I feel like they're going to do this, and if not, then I know the world really well.
The game builds up a certain rhythm to it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, whatever that cliffhanger was, I'm sure there's something in my mind that I had for that cliffhanger. So as soon as you send me whatever that was, I'll go, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just slacked it to you right now.
Okay.
The magic of Slack. See that right now? I just
Slacking.
slacked that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
See?
I forgot that was a cliffhanger. Yes, I do remember that. That was actually in my notes. I did not realize that was the last instant of the game.
Literally, it was, and this happens, and we're done.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I hate you so hard
Oh,
right
I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot it was over a phone. I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it was narrated, and I'm like,
No.
oh no, that was over.
No,
a
it was
phone.
over a phone because
Okay, I got it.
Riley got the phone
Right,
call.
right.
Yep.
I got it now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that was our topic. I guess.
Yeah,
And
that's
now,
a good topic. Also, tomorrow, Vampire. So it's Sunday, October 2nd. If you're watching this later, too bad. Tomorrow, 1 p.m. Watch us play Vampire.
oh yeah, we'll be
Yeah,
playing
yeah.
Vampire at
We're
once.
Yeah.
starting a little bit later than normal.
Yes.
Due to
Scully will
schedules.
return.
Samantha has started ballet lessons because she had to be more awesome than she already is. So
Well, she has an R2-22,
I know.
and she wants to actually be able to dance in the
So
R2.
Well,
amazing.
because she made all the
And she's
R2 details for the R2-22.
Yes.
And then because she's a dedicated cosplayer, she's actually learning to ballet dance. Because
Yes.
if you're going to have a tutu, you got to know what to do in it. Because
Yeah.
she's a completist that way. She pretty much says,
And all that applique
I don't-
3PO, applique PO.
applicable.
She had a word for it. I don't remember what her word was.
I don't
R2
remember.
details.
R2
R2
details. But
details,
she
that
said
was
something. It was something on applique because there was lots of applique. I always thought it was hilarious because applique is,
French. Oh. No.
but yes.
It's not
You'll skip this
not
stuff.
the Boba Fringe.
Yeah, go
The
check
Boba
out.
Fringe.
That's nice.
That's a good
That's
one.
it.
That's
a
another
good one.
round of applause for Stork there.
Yeah,
Wow.
if you go check out Samantha's Instagram, which is Red Pandroid, you can see her amazing R222 in its amazing glory. Amazing glory. It glows, actually. And when you press one of the appliques on the side, it beeps and tweets and stuff.
One
Are
of the
you
R2
kidding me?
details.
No, it totally
She's
does.
a completist. I tell you.
Yeah, you press the thing and it makes R2D2
She was
sounds.
telling us a story about playing Fallout 4, and she was saying that she
That's
had to go
amazing.
and do all of the side quests because it drives her crazy to have something uncompleted that way. So of course, when she makes an R222, all the R2 details
my
do a
God.
different thing.
I wonder if that bugs a lot of people. I wonder if a lot of gamers are like that.
I am. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I should-
somebody spent time making this stuff. I'm gonna do all of
I
it.
should stream me playing Fallout 4 because it would drive you batshit
You're like,
crazy.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
We've
I
had
don't-
a couple
it's
people
like-
asking about us streaming video games, like in between our shows. So we'll have.
You just ignore everything.
I do. It's like I go through when you get out of the thing out of the Fallout shelter in the very beginning, and you go through the town. I went to my house, looked through my house, got my stuff, left, and followed the robot to another house where there's like some bees or something you have to kill.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Covered in bees.
I'm like, well, this is an abandoned town. I'll go see what's over there. Off I went. I didn't check anything else. And then I came up to a gas
The
station.
gas station, yeah, the
And I'm like,
rocket.
and I looked at the gas station. I'm like,
Yep, looks like a gas station.
you got any guns? I don't see any weapons.
See, I turned that into my base because it
Wasn't
has the
that
armor.
that's where the giant thing of armor was? How did you not notice that?
No, the giant thing of armor is in the town. I found that.
Oh, it's in a gas station too, though.
There's
No,
a
it's on the
couple of
roof.
gas stations
It's on the
and
roof.
stuff.
It's on the roof of a building. The one I'm thinking of, the big. I use that.
The first
I ran
one
out
you
of-
get is in the town. You have to jump out the building. It's with the.
Oh,
the
yeah.
Deathclaw.
But then you make the
Right.
one, and then you have
But I use the gas station as my base because it has the armor stand, and you take your armor there.
Oh, it
and you
does have
start-
that stand.
and you start
Yeah.
fixing stuff.
Well,
yeah.
I couldn't have made it,
No,
I couldn't have made
your
it.
first armor is the stuff you get.
and you don't have enough
From the-
power.
No,
You have
but
enough
it makes a
power to
good
fight.
base because you have the tool chest there. You have all the tools you need. You have the lathe and stuff. So yeah, just.
And I'm a shitty shot too. I'm a terrible
Don't
shot.
you mean a crappy shot?
Oh,
Up
I
next
can't
on
hit.
Happy
I can't hit
Jack's
the side of a
video game
barn.
podcast.
I'm in the powered armor with all
Yeah.
of the cool weapons, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna run over here to the side because the guy in the Minuteman, he's shooting the thing
Oh,
and
yeah.
hitting it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you know what? He's shooting it a lot more better than I am. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go hide over here, and he did. I went and I hid over there until the thing died, and then I came back.
I did
and he's
that
like,
too.
thanks for your help.
Part of my tactics was that I let the Deathclaw just chew up all these other guys, and then he lowered it down to the point where I could actually do it. Because if you run and hide, it won't target you. It starts killing
Right,
all the what are they, outworlders, whatever it is.
The chat room says we're boring, Tim.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Thank you, and more questions from Gaz.
I just don't play Fallout 4 at
Oh,
all.
okay.
It's really
I,
good.
I don't play any video
I've
game.
never played any of the Fallout games, but I started playing Fallout Shelter on my phone,
Yeah.
and I really like Fallout
He
Shelter.
totally dominates that. He is actually maxed out the amount of caps you can have in the
There
game.
was an upgrade that allowed you to have more than 1 million,
Oh, good.
but then they got rid of it.
Oh,
I play World of Warcraft.
that's so mean. Yeah.
Right on. I play Half-Life and Counter-Strike. And going back many, many years, I play Rune, which is a great, fun
Yeah,
game.
that's a great game. I love that game.
Familiar.
Rune was, it was put out by, I don't remember who it was put out by, but it was, you were playing a Viking, and you were doing Viking stuff.
Yeah.
And they actually Atlas Games came out with a role-playing game for it. And
Yeah.
the role-playing game is really cool. It's based on Ars Magica, and it has this awesome flowchart that Tyler's talked about a lot.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you're supposed to rotate GMs,
Right.
and the flowchart tells you how NPC combatants should act. So going back to our whole improv thing, if you have that flowchart, it's awesome because it's like, step 1, am I being attacked? Yes, hit that guy. No, is one of my close friends being attacked? Yes,
Hit that
go
guy.
hit that guy.
Right.
No, look for the closest person. And you
Right.
you go down this flowchart to tell you what your NPC combatants should do in any situation. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
It's not improv though.
No, but you know
No,
what?
but you could totally use that.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
you're like,
What's
If you're bad at improv or you're not really practiced at it, that's a really handy
Or bad
tool.
at tactics.
well,
Or-
that's where
That's what
I
you
find
need.
it because
Right.
my tactics are. I'll bet you, I am a worse tactician than you are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'll put money on that.
I'll win you.
I'll
win you at bad
I'll
tactics.
fail so hard.
Boys,
You'll look
you're
great.
both terrible. It's all right.
it does save me from the problem of having the all-knowing NPC, because unconsciously you will sometimes submit information that you are privy to about the
Yeah.
players into your NPC.
Oh, see, I don't have a problem doing that.
I
don't
do.
I don't have a problem doing that.
I gotta. Oh yeah, he wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I've never really had a problem doing that. If the players come up with I'm pretty good at firewalling
Yeah.
what the players came up with for their solution and what the bad guys know.
Yeah.
Good skill.
Yeah.
I
think
just,
the only
well,
time-
I'm also terrible at tactics, which helps too.
I think the only time I do that is once in a while during con games. Because, like, you're in a hurry and you're trying to, like, all right, and then suddenly you're like, keep talking. Maybe they didn't pay attention to that point, and maybe they didn't catch it. Nope, they didn't catch it. All right, keep going.
Keep going. Metagaming.
Thank you, and more questions from Gaz.
Gaz.
All hail the gods and goddesses of RPG, hobby, banter, and pure awesomeness. Thank you.
Who's that?
He had us at hello, Gaz.
Oh,
Aw.
he's talking about us.
Gaz here again. First
Right?
off, I would love to thank you all for the advice you gave me in my last email. Awesome you create, and the awesomeness you create every week. And again, corrections to my name. It is not related to the Baz stuff from Dickens.
That's actually Boz. Boz was Dickens' like pen name when he was writing non-Dickens stuff.
that Stork mentioned. I used to have an online name that was Gazardiel.
Gazadriel? Gazardiel?
Jazardiel,
Could be.
which is a angel name for new beginnings. However, the Twitch streamers I watched all had trouble pronouncing the name, so I made it Gaz. But what does that relate with? Oh, no, it is Gaz. It's not Baz. Okay. Because, well, it sounded cool and was easy to pronounce. And yes, English is not my first language. I'm from the Netherlands and dyslexic, so sorry about all the spelling and grammar mistakes. None that I've noticed so far.
Yeah, you're actually doing
all
a
the
lot better
mistakes
than
have been my own reading. I wanted to write you with an update how it went with my game and wrote about last email. And I wish I got your great advice just a week before. See, I think he said it was in a hurry, and I put it as soon as I could because it kind of imploded on itself because that careful player and me are extremely stubborn. Neither of us wanted to budge and only got frustrated at each other, ending up me closing my books and killing the session. Oh, that's no good.
But you know what though? I give you kudos for
Sorry, go ahead.
I give you kudos for knowing that you have this problem and you closed the books before it turned into fistfights or people started throwing stuff. Because I've been in games where people start behaving badly.
This was the ogre and the hag, where the hag was down underground and they
Right.
had the ogre up above ground.
And they basically had kind of a standoff.
They had kind of stand off, like, why would the hag come out? Well, she wouldn't. And
Right.
I don't think I was on that episode, but you were giving advice on how to make that work.
Kickstart some action.
Yeah, how to kickstart some action.
Bring the action.
I am not proud of it, and I wish I used the idea that the hag shapeshifted into a bunny because one of the Ettin's rewards was something fluffy. But because it's not on the spell list of the hag stat block I used, I never thought of it. I still have a lot to learn as a GM. But there is some good news. First, this was a one-shot we tried to get new players trying out new classes, and we learned a lot. Next session is planned in a couple of weeks because of real-life stuff, and we are going to have a new session 0, laying down some base rules, creating new characters for all, and building the world together so we can all have some fun together again. However, I now have a couple of questions. First, starting off, is related to the last email. You had the great advice, but if the players don't want to come to the bad guy, make the bad guy come to the players. That is great advice. But usually, the bad guy isn't stupid either. A higher intelligent monster also knows that it has the advantage in its lair, or it is at disadvantage on their turf, and is thinking like a player would. I'm not going out there. Someone might have put something sharp out there. I mean, if the bad evil thing is an object that is inside of a cave, yes, the players need to do the stupid thing and go inside the cave. But how would you handle it when the bad evil thing is a monster that can leave the cave but is not forced to? For example, dragons have huge caves and usually a walking entrance and a back door just in case, at least in my mind. If the party sets up camp waiting for the dragon to come out of the main door to slay it, the dragon just uses the back door to leave and enter, gets its food or whatever. And well, ta-da, the back door has now become the main entrance and you're in a stalemate. How do you balance the strategic insight of the bad guys against the continuation of the story? Should we keep reading or stop?
No, that's a very, very good point, and that's kind of ties in with my NPCs.
Let's stop there for
my
now.
smart NPCs that know too much, because this is the kind of thing that I would have planned out. Like my dragon, of course, it has 2 entrances. Why would it only have 1? It's a super intelligent creature, so of course it's going to have a back door. It may not be the best way in and out, but what I would do is have it go out the back door and then come around and sneak up on the PCs.
Is our sync good?
It seems like it. I'm not seeing anything about us not.
The first thing that comes to my mind is, does the dragon know that there are people staked out in the front? That's something you have to decide. Mm-hmm. The dragon is not just going to mysteriously not use, if it's always used the front entrance, it's not going to say, oh, I think I'm going to use the back entrance now for no reason whatsoever.
Right.
That's a GM kind of being kind of a douchebag. Mm-hmm. Unless there's something that tipped it off. Did they try to go in and realize, oh, this thing's too powerful to go outside. Let's set up an ambush for it when it comes out. Well, that's the players kind of being dumb.
Yeah.
Yes and no, but if they successfully hide long enough, the dragon will think they actually did leave. He's a dragon after all.
Sure.
Scare the people
but if he
away.
needs to leave quickly, he might go, I'm going to be out there. Let's go out the back one.
And then check around.
But eventually, you're right. If they didn't do anything like to tip their hand, the dragon would have no reason to know that unless he's got some kind of spell or something that would tip him off. Yeah.
So how do you balance the strategic insight of the bad guys against the continuation of a story?
Dragons, they are ancient, they are super, super smart. And why do we always sally a dragon as a lone creature? Why isn't it going to have ghouls?
Or some sort of minion of
Or some sort
kind,
of
right.
minions. Or,
Worshippers.
I was just going to say, there have been a number of RPG supplements on dragon cults.
Sure.
Bunch of baby dragons
Yeah,
that are still really freaking scary.
Yeah, little whelps
Yeah.
flying around.
Oh God, whelps.
You ever watch Dragon
They're
Slayer?
so cute until there's 25
Until there's
of them and you're
100
gonna
of them,
die.
yeah.
There's a scene in Dragon Slayer where the babies are feeding off the corpse of a dead
Yeah.
virgin. Awesome.
But my point is, if your dragon, and it could be any really big, huge bad guy like that, like a huge ogre, he's probably going to have orcs that, or goblins that run around and like, oh, yes, master.
Sure. Or humans.
or humans, yeah, you know, bad, evil humans, they're the ones who see the players on the outside and go into the back door and say, hey, boss, by the way, you got some dudes out front.
And there would probably be some sort of interaction there. The party might notice, oh shit, these
Right.
people have seen us. What should
Right.
we do?
Right. And plus, that gives you another layer to play with. It's not all of a sudden the players against a big, huge dragon. You've got the players figuring out, oh, there's a big, huge dragon, and they have followers, so we should probably take the followers out first. We should probably take the ads out first.
Yeah.
I think we're
Before
getting.
we take the
I think
boss
we're
out.
getting really caught up in this specific example of a dragon.
Yeah, totally.
This feels a little bit like something that Tim has thought about and is
Yeah.
particularly annoyed by.
But no, not annoyed by it, but it's something I've given a lot of thought to.
Let's try this in broader strokes. Taking an example from the moat game, I don't want to spoil too much, but it seemed that there was a big bad guy who we brought to us because we wanted
Yeah.
to fight him on our terms. And Stu could easily have said, nope, doesn't affect him. You guys have to go into this place to take him on. You could easily have done that, but you were always in the interest of keeping the game moving forward. So even though
Yes.
Or bad
that
at
character
tactics.
could have and probably should have sat there and said, nope, I'm going to make them come to me. Otherwise, the game gets boring.
Well, the windy drawers thing comes
there's
to
that
mind
one. That's
immediately.
another good
Because
one.
that's one where I made here's his palatial estate where he's going to hold his grand cotillion that he's invited the party to, and all this other stuff. The party's like, oh, we're not going to his place.
That's bad.
So I actually made out a big combat
Yeah, I
map
remember.
for the whole thing, and
Did you actually rip it up? Were you like,
yes, I did.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I'm like, well,
He was about halfway through the combat stuff. He goes, by the way, I had all this stuff planned. And we were like, sorry.
Just confettis it, throws it up in the air.
But they came up with a very reasonable plan to lure him somewhere else, because they didn't know who he was, and he didn't know who they were yet. So they pretended that they were like wealthy landowners or something, where he was going to have some sort of a financial deal with them.
Right, and he was a prominent member of the town with a lot of money. If you guys
Right.
have not listened, which one was that? That was
That was not.
the
That
Savage
was not.
Worlds, wasn't it?
That it was not. It was in GURPS.
GURPS.
Yeah.
It was Infinite Worlds, and it was not recorded.
Ah, all right.
that was sort of pre-actual play
Yes.
era.
Windy Drawers was not recorded?
No.
He's been on the podcast a bunch
He's
of
made
times.
a number of appearances.
Yes.
But
yeah. By the way, the chat room has been asking repeatedly for a GURPS actual play.
Okay, all right.
So we need to do a one-shot or something at least.
Sure. Yeah.
No, can I get
I'm
finished?
throwing my hat in the ring
Okay.
for that one.
Oh.
You have to look. Getting back to his specific question, balancing strategic insight of the bad guys through the continuation of the story. I am of the opinion, just as I say that a player should do what his character should do, and no one should tell him he can't do that. If the bad guy is in a situation where he knows what's going on, and it makes sense that he knows what's going on, and that he would be walking into a trap, I would not have him walk into that trap.
Yeah, yeah.
If it ends up with a stalemate, there are ways you can force stalemates to end as a GM. You've got a lot of things that you can work with. If it, let's say we're playing Mode of Sin, and the Sabbat come back and they decide we're going to take this one town, and we're going to keep this town, and you guys don't want to go into that town because fighting them on their turf would be too dangerous, and they aren't going to go fight you on their turf. So we basically have a stalemate. They're over here, you're over here. There's tension, but neither side wants to go and fight on the other side's turf. As a GM, how can you force their hand? That's easy. Okay, I'm in the town where all of the tourists come. You're in the part of town that is only local residents. Maybe suddenly on that part of town, now that you have to only feed on local residents, word starts spreading that people are disappearing more often. Or maybe more people are seeing things that they shouldn't have seen. Maybe the masquerade is getting a little iffy over there.
Thin.
And suddenly you're like, we really need to get that other part of town back, because that's where all the tourists come to.
Yeah.
Or maybe there are vital supplies for the rest of the town that come in on that side. Let's say that's where most of the food is imported in Pleasure Harbor, which the Sabbat own.
The Sabbat make a siege.
Basically,
situation.
or basically they just say, you know what? Nah, we'll just leave it all here.
We should.
And suddenly now you've got a smaller pool of people to feed on, and they're getting hungry.
We should.
And there's all kinds of ways the GM could sit there and force it to a head, make the repercussions of the stalemate bad enough where someone's got to do something. Maybe it's going to be the players, maybe it's going to be the bad guy, but force that.
What other things, Stu? Because I really don't want you talking like that about the moat, because I don't want those ideas in your head. If you can just not do that again, that'd be.
Well, I'm just
great.
thinking. No, that's purely the thing. But the point is, if you make the repercussions of that stalemate bad enough, and they would be eventually, there's going to be things that are going to happen that neither side is thinking of in that situation, and it's going to force one side's hand to the other. What you have to do at a GM at that point is you have to start thinking about, okay, you know how your evil bad guy thinks as far as the strategic insight and everything else. How does he think when he's under a lot of pressure?
Yeah.
When does he break? Though you can push it until when the party breaks, but if you only ever push it to when the party breaks, that's not really fair. You also have to think about the bad guy. He's under pressure too. He's got things that he wants planned. He's got planned. He's got stuff that he wants to do, and now he can't do it because he's missing some of the resources because of the stalemate. At some point, where's his breaking point?
Right.
And you need to know where that is, because he might break before they do. And then when he does break, if he's a real smart guy, then you have to make sure that he tries to, when he gets on your home turf, he does whatever he can to sort of lessen the impact of that home turf, just as you would on his.
Right. When does he decide to make his Hail Mary?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Stu. Have you ever just tossed the strategic insight of the bad guy out the window in favor of moving the story forward?
Occasionally, usually it's not with big bad guys. It's usually with smaller things. But yeah, I mean,
that's an option, right?
Goblins are not necessarily the smartest things on the planet, and they shouldn't be played like that. That's one of the reasons I think that I have a bad rep for tactics, is because a horde of goblins should not be known for being really tactically smart.
Yeah. Which is why there are so many goblins in my game, because.
or whatever, you know. Second question is also a balance option, but not story related. It's players. I only have 3 for the D&D. That is a small party. Now, if a party is 5 or 6 and loses 1 player, they're still a formidable force. If 1 player goes down in combat, 1/3 of the combat power is gone. If the player is a healer, then it's scrambling to get him or her up, and after combat, oh no, we are going to need a long rest or else I will be useless. Right. I know that toning down encounters is a thing, and I'm already building my combat for 3 players and make sure that there is variety in the combat so that there are easy combats, hard, as well as non-combat solutions if it fits. Or if my players are creative, but you all know, especially Stork dice can be a dick to you.
Every time.
Now, for the actual question, a lot of you host con games and are players in con games, and at the beginning, or even to this day, you have low player games. As we all know, dice can be random, and Stork knows not all dice rolls are great for you.
Starkness.
What do you do when, after 2 hours of playing, a player dies or the magic character has become useless because they blew their big spell load because of crappy rolls and hasn't had a chance to recover?
Load.
Still,
You were really hoping we'd just go right by that, weren't we? Sorry.
LOAD.
still having 2 hours to go, and suddenly the party is crippled.
We've had that happen. 5e, well, that was a big deal, which was we would have combat and then we'd spend like a day resting.
Right.
It happened all the time. That was like one of the faults of the game. We're like, bam, bam, bam. Oh, now we can't do anything anymore. We're just going to set up camp right here. And we did.
You guys did that. It's like there's a big door and there's like giants or something. I don't remember what it was.
And we like
you killed them, and you got in and you got up the stairs and you got up to this big door and you're like, we're spent.
Yep.
Let's camp out right
here.
here in front of this big door that we can't open.
right. And you were like, but that's part of the flaw of that game is I can't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
And when we do push on, we got clobbered. Because you don't have any dailies anymore. You don't, your healer
Right.
has down to like his like heal light wounds and that's it. And yeah.
Well, and I think the hard thing about that too is like it makes you choose between like doing well and tactics.
Right.
sometimes because you're not going to. I mean, any smart adventurer is not going to go to that door and camp there. But so then it sort of brings in that metagamey thing. You're like,
Yeah,
well,
totally.
we have to be powerful when we fight the dragon. But if you really got to that freaking door, if you were a real adventurer, you'd probably go through no matter what because you know that was the best shot you'd have.
You just wander down the hallway.
You certainly are not going to fall asleep in front of the big door where you know the bad guy is behind.
So when that happened, did you
No.
take steps to?
No.
Okay.
But that's
I let it go because why not?
I also
They
think-
were quiet when they.
and that's a big fault of that system, which is you need to be fresh to combat
The
anything.
10-minute
because-
work week.
Because all of those, it's true. Because all the encounters are structured around you being at full power.
Right.
When you go through and you generate your monster, there's it says it's based around having your dailies and everything fresh. So it's,
Well, actually, you're supposed to have a lot more combats in D&D than we have. No, you are. The way the game is set up, you're supposed to have like 4 or 5 per session combat encounters, and those all may take place in the course of one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is like fight after fight after fight. So you really have to conserve your daily
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah.
You're not supposed to blow it all
Ours,
Yeah.
at the time.
there's only
yeah.
one combat per session, and it's usually a few days between sessions.
Yeah, why
Everything,
not?
boom,
Nuke it all,
everything.
right, yeah.
That's why I think someone actually wrote in about this. That's why even hard encounters in my game were almost a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Because the party never had to say, "No, I want to save my daily.
Yeah,
wanna-
I
wanna
may
use
need
it
that
now."
later. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do we answer his question or did we not answer his question?
How do you deal with
We
it
talked
when,
a lot.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, when it gets cut down, I would just nerf it. I mean, if you got someone who's like used all his spells up, give them an excuse to have a long rest.
Yeah.
Either they can retreat and go someplace, safe. Maybe they can go find a clearing in the woods and camp overnight and come back
Or
if they need
they're
to.
camped in front of a locked door they can't get into anyway.
It's really
just
not
don't make the door
smart.
It's
open
a
up.
terrible
It's really
idea.
not-
Bad idea.
Yeah, I feel like if your players are dumb enough to do that, they sort of deserve to
Tie
be
some
punished.
cans on strings and put it in front of the door.
Yeah.
Clink, 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 clink.
I think the dragon's out.
I'm gonna go Haven in the old lady's back porch.
Right.
I'll be safe.
In a tent.
In a tent. I'll be safe.
But I mean, that's what. And now, if a character was killed, I would just kind of maybe nerf the encounter, or maybe don't nerf the encounter.
Yeah.
Maybe the story at that point changes. If you're playing in a con game, I would just go ahead and go forward with it. Maybe nerf the encounter a little bit. If you're playing in a regular session, like it's your regular game, and this happens, you got 3 players. One of the characters dies. The other 2 players like, oh, we lost our healer. Let's go back to town.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say.
Go back to town. Hey, look, here's a new healer.
Or
D&D is actually supposed to be a game of there's supposed to be a lot more resource management than a lot of people put into it.
Yes.
And when you go back to early D&D and where it came from, in those situations, now keep in mind in those situations you were usually in a mega dungeon, and it was
Right.
always like, we got to go back to town because we have to buy more healing potions and we have to resurrect our cleric.
well, yeah, I was going
who
to say
died.
we always had
and
quests for resurrection and
Yeah.
or
Right.
So you pick up his body, walk back out of the dungeon, walk back down, throw him down on the altar. Here's my 9,000
Exactly.
gold. Just
Yeah.
make him work again.
you would,
know,
you'd
We
spend
broke
all
our-
the money
we
you
broke
just
our
got.
cleric.
we broke our cleric. You fix him, we'll pay.
We'll pay you.
And so there was a lot more of that which we don't do now in current D&D as much.
Right.
And maybe that's the answer is get back more to that kind of old school feeling on that stuff.
Some of the most fun I ever had was going back and having your player either resurrected because you couldn't afford, or reincarnated. 'cause you couldn't
Reincarnated, you come
because
back as a centaur
or
or
something. Or yeah, but because you couldn't afford the resurrection, or even just reanimate.
Yeah.
So you're a zombie now until you can afford to get resurrected.
There
Yeah,
was,
the characters were a lot more. It was a lot more interesting at that point because magic is everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a temple in every town or a couple of them, and they can just heal you for some coin.
Right.
So and then we were always spending our treasure before we ever amassed it, resurrecting our fallen comrades.
My memory on this is hazy, but this was totally awesome. Queen of the Demon Web Pits. I think it was Queen of the Demon Web Pits. It might have been another module in that series, but you went to the Abyss. And if you had a limb cut off, there was a spell where you could, boop, make your limb come back. there was a table that if you cast that in the abyss, you randomly rolled on what it came back like.
Like you get an insect arm.
Like you get an insect arm or a tentacle
Ew.
or a claw or something like that. So because we were kids and we had a chaotic evil party, we always would hack our limbs off and then specifically go there to have the spell cast so that we would grow back, tentacles or something. Yay.
Do you ever find the head of Vecna?
No.
Or the lost keys of Entuzler.
No. Even I never played around with the Vecna stuff. I mean, that's just bad.
That's just awful.
That's just bad.
Now my last question. In the beginning of the email, I told you I live in the Netherlands. The Netherlands. And I love to play RPGs. Now that you have that lonely event called JackerCon, however,
I think that's a lovely event.
Lovely event called JackerCon, however, there are games in JackerCon that have some Euro-friendly times. Yes, there are.
There are. Mm-hmm.
Because after 8 hours of work, staying up until 3 a.m. to play, then not sleeping another 8-hour workday, it's not ideal, and I'm afraid I will fall asleep during the game. Yeah, there usually are.
Yeah.
There usually are. Again, thanks for all the great and awesome work you do. Your podcast is the highlight of my week. Yeah, I know. It's sad. Aww. And listening to you ramble is a highlight. Thank you very much. Gaz, the DM.
I think DT Pints stays awake for all of the games.
He does.
JackerCon. He's like all of them. All the games.
But he's like a crab fisherman, and
Yes.
they stay up for 48 hours anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just like, this is actually shorter than his work week.
P.S. Looking forward towards watching you stream the actual plays and not just hearing you, also seeing you play.
Tomorrow at 1.
And watching us eat.
And drinking.
I want to give some extra
There are actually
compliments.
Twitch channels totally just to that. People sit and eat and drink, and people watch them and comment and chat.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not
How do I
kidding.
get in on that?
It's called social eating.
I'm totally getting in on
Social eating.
That's what it's a thing. It's amazing.
that. How lonely is your life where you have to come to Twitch and have people that
No,
sit and
people
talk to
pay you to do it.
Are there social eating experts?
I'm in.
I guess because people subscribe to their channels. And
Is this going to be like My Dinner with Andre, where you just sit and eat and talk to people?
My Dinner with Andre really is a good movie, though.
You're
It really
kidding,
is
right?
a good movie.
no,
I'm totally doing
No,
that.
I'm
I can
really
get paid.
not.
I can get paid to have my dinner.
no, it's a thing.
That's awesome.
I want to get paid to eat.
You're good at it.
How is this not happening yet?
Are you on Twitch?
I'm going to be as soon as I get home.
Yeah, it's.
Order a pizza, set up a Twitch channel, eat
just
pizza,
eat
and talk to
pizza.
people and drink.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great pizza.
What do you want to talk about?
Eating pizza.
Sorry, Stu. Go ahead and finish your PS.
P.S. I want to give some extra compliments on the audio quality of your show, and I will be looking forward to seeing it improve with the new audio equipment and tweaking. Yes, I bought a new board. We have
Yay
a
for new boards.
new soundboard now, so the equipment over here is a little less ungainly. Thank you.
Gainly soundboard. I get it.
Ah,
it's a
Gain.
soundboard. It's a soundboard.
P.S. Drink. Can you grab me another Diet Coke out of the...
Yes, I can.
I don't have anything to drink. I always drink when they tell me to drink.
Yeah.
It's always a good plan,
It is.
especially if you have a food channel.
Yeah.
So thank you, Gaz. Do people just... Oh, of course, they just drink and go on Twitch. People just drink and do all kinds of things.
Yeah, they do.
The food roulette.
Oh. That would be
Does any-
super popular.
Now, are there cooking Twitch channels?
Yes.
Okay, that would be something that would be interesting. If you got like people who know how to cook.
Yeah.
It's chicken.
And
with
you-
Pez.
Yeah.
Am I good again? Mike's okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. There's Twitch channels for cosplay, which is something I'm considering doing, like streaming cosplay, like prep, like like as you're sewing and stuff. You show how you do
this
it.
is how I make
Yeah,
my
this is
Wonder
me.
Woman armor. Okay,
yeah, stuff
rad.
like that. There's Twitch channels. I found one the other day. He's called the 2-Bit Drummer. I think that's, or 8-Bit Drummer. Sorry, not 2-Bit. 8-Bit Drummer.
He's a 2-bit drummer.
But he has a setup, and people, there's programs you can use for Twitch that people can request songs. So they send him songs, and he drums along to the songs that he's never heard before. And it's actually, he's amazing. And he records it all, and he had like so many people watching. It's just absolutely insane. You can pretty much watch people do just about anything that's like not.
wonder if you can get a whole jam session with Twitch. Everybody has a Twitch channel. You just have a whole band. You come up with a song right then and there.
Yeah, there's Twitch Creative now, so people do a lot of music stuff on there. People have stream their band rehearsals.
Does it say Twitch your Poggy Boxers?
Poxy Boggard rehearsal?
That would.
Twitch your
We're gonna be
Poxy-
this afternoon. We're gonna be recording scratch tracks. We could Twitch our scratch
You
tracks.
totally could.
Except
Scratch
it's
like-
really boring.
It's
Nope, do it again. Nope, do it again.
Well, but you know
nope,
what?
do it again.
Well, and you have to interact with the chat room. That's the thing while you do it. So you
Otherwise,
have
it's
to.
like, oh, I could watch TV, but
Yeah.
I'm watching these guys.
Yeah,
well,
you have to.
but it would be kind of interesting for people that have never created an album before to know what a scratch track is, how you lay one down.
Yeah.
So yeah, for the 10 people out there that want to make a live album, that might be interesting to them. You can't judge what's interesting to other people. You got to set it up and then throw it out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know what a scratch track is.
Scratch track is a track that you put down when you're recording something that you're not going to use in the final recording.
It's a,
Usually, what you'll do is you'll set up a drum track or something, and then you'll have someone come in and play guitars over whatever the song is, and then you'll have your vocalists go in and sing to that, so they're singing in tune. Then you'll have other people put the other instruments on top of it, and that original guitar track will go away and get re-recorded.
It basically sets a beat.
Oh, okay.
It gives you tempo and pitch reference for
Yeah.
all the rest.
So
of the songs.
it's like a frame that you hang everything
Exactly.
on and then later replace the frame.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it.
Yep,
Wow.
that's what it is.
in film scores, they'll sometimes take another film score and put it in a scene just so there's music
Just
in the
so there's music?
background, and
Okay.
it kind of sets. And sometimes they're picky about what they find, and it kind of sets the tone for the actual composition towards the end, because that's the last thing that gets done. But when you're
Is it
cutting
really
a movie,
scoring is the last thing?
It's one of the last.
when you're
things
cutting
that
a
gets
movie,
added.
you need the music in there to edit to. So
Yeah.
they have to put
Oh, that-
temporary
Something
music
I
in
in
guess
there.
that kind of makes sense because the guy who's writing it says, okay, this scene is 45 seconds long and it needs to swell here and I need to write something. That makes
Well,
sense.
and when
And it
you're-
has to be changed based on the editing of the film.
Right,
even.
right.
The
So-
music dictates how you edit the film. And you want the music to swell when their tears start to come out. You can't just have it empty there. Otherwise, the editor's trying to figure out how this impact works and how to make this scene work. And
Right.
the music is the thing that brings it together. You have to have something there temporarily, just so that people don't go, no one's buying this. She's crying. It's not. Nobody's believing this. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no music.
So that's why one of my friends, Bear McCreary, is a composer, and that's why it's really hard for, especially composers who are working on television shows, because they have such a short turnaround.
Yeah.
Because it's like, boom, the show has to be edited pretty much, and that's what they work on the music, but then they have to change it all when the final cut of whatever it is done
Oh,
is
yeah.
done.
Did you ever see
Well,
Forgetting
it's a-
Sarah Marshall? Dramatic tones.
Yes. Yeah.
I can mention this now because it's coming up. Episode 4 of Hell's Kitchen, the current season that's on right now. The Boggards are on episode 4.
Yay.
4 or
Oh
5.
my gosh.
Is it 4? I think
Okay.
it's 4.
Do you know what? I watched last season, like
Me
I've gone
too.
I've gone through every single episode twice going, how did I miss them? Where did they go?
Do you realize we recorded that almost 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
That's how far ahead they record that
yeah,
show. It's
absolutely.
insane. They do 2 seasons a year, which I didn't know. But they record way far
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. I was
So-
I was in the studio audience for one of the episodes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can actually see me for 2 seconds when they pull back
Brilliant. That's
a-
about how much screen time we'll get.
Yeah.
a curtain right over Gordon Ramsay's head.
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah,
much taller in person.
Dude's huge.
And he's
he shook
super rich.
He's like 6'4" or 6'5".
he shook my
He's
hand
tall.
too. I still haven't watched
He
it.
smells good. Did you notice that? He
He's
smells
got-
good.
Yeah, did you
Bet
see
he
his feet?
does.
Huge feet.
Oh, yeah.
He's got monstrous big feet. I was like, damn, dude. Huge.
Of course he does.
There's stuff. There's like.
Stu.
But the episode 4, which I believe they've had 2 episodes now.
I just watched
So
the
no-
first one last night, yeah.
Was that the first? No, they've aired the second one though, right?
I watched it on Hulu, so
Okay.
I own
I think the second one's aired, so in 2 episodes. But episode 4,
2 episodes.
when they start talking about pirates and fish as being the main ingredient, that's us.
Oh, that's
So
so
hopefully
awesome.
you'll hear. And the reason I bring that up is because they said, okay, here's what we're thinking of. Here's the amount of time we're going to have, and we sat down and we modified a bunch of existing songs we have, original and traditional stuff, and made them about fish, and wrote 8 of them, I think,
Right.
because there were 8 choices of
8
fish.
different fish. Yeah.
And then we get there and they're like, oh no, these are way too long.
We're like,
And they're
Go.
like, it's like, so you guys work on them and cut them down in length. And they had to be like
It just had
like
too many
5
notes.
to 8 seconds.
Yeah.
Like
A
really
fish
short.
is a fish. Is a fish. A fish.
So we start. So it says, you guys sit down and work on that. We'll come get you when we're ready to shoot. The guy walks out the door. No shit. A minute later, walks back in and says, "Okay, we're ready for you."
So your songs are like salmon,
Slightly longer than that. Slightly longer than that, but not much. Not much.
halibut.
We really did
that's-
make it work, though.
We
It was a
did.
make it work
and what we
moment.
did is we scrambled and we were talking to each other. Well, what we can do with this one? Which song is it? As we're slowly walking out through the big grand entrance,
Talking about improv, because I was terrified.
But oh man.
it worked out. We'll see what they. We'll see.
And
what
he doesn't like to
ended up.
edit, so
well,
No.
whatever happened, happened.
I'm so glad that it hasn't happened yet because I've been dreading coming in here and going like, dude, I totally missed your episode. I feel so bad. Like, how am I an idiot that I missed
No,
it?
we haven't not been able to talk about it because it's
Yeah.
You know,
Been
in fact, we've
secret.
already probably peeked behind the curtain too much for people. Like they shoot those ahead of time. This isn't real time. It's like that was 2 years
Well,
ago. He's been.
I mean,
that's why
They're
he's
pretty
able to
open
do
with
these other
that.
things.
Yeah.
There were
That's
couple
why he
of
has
them out.
8 different TV shows.
Right.
Oh,
There
it's
were
a
a
it's a
couple
big
of
deal
pictures
too
put on
because
Facebook, so-
the people who do it, they sleep. They're like
Oh, yeah.
cloistered and
Yeah.
put on a bus, and they're kept in
Ostensibly, they
kept
can't
it-
comment on it.
Well, yeah, but they don't let.
I know
they're
that
not-
from the TV a cooking competition Reddit that I follow.
Oh, really?
And every once in a while, it's not that show; it's another show. His Master Chef
Yeah.
show, which I love. That
That's
show.
a great
There's
show.
been a couple times where people on the Reddit forum have found that some of the people who are on it are actually, oh, look, he's in that TV show too. Interesting.
Oh,
So-
there was a. This is crazy, but one of the winners of one of Hell's Kitchen, he was actually on.
Dancing with the Stars.
No, the cooking show that came from Japan,
Iron
Master-
Chef.
Iron Chef.
Iron Chef.
He
Yeah,
was,
they do
he
that
was
a lot.
A sous chef on Iron Chef for a couple episodes before he won on Hell's Kitchen, which
Yeah.
I was like,
There's actually
Are
a
you telling me reality television isn't real? Is that what you're saying?
no, but there is
Stu,
actually
or
like
Storm.
a
Yeah.
TV chef cooking competition. Like that's a thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people who've been on Top Chef or something then come on as they start working on other shows or they enter other
Yeah.
competitions. But some of them do actually plant actors who I have no idea if their food is actually good. But
Well, I imagine if you're being a sous chef on a show in the background, you're probably an actual chef.
no, that is yeah.
Because if you're not on, if your screen time is always in the background, I would imagine you're actually a chef.
you're a dude, yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing what it is you're supposed to do. Yeah.
The general consensus is there are actual contestants, people who are there and have applied, and they're usually the winners, but they usually lace the casts with actors and stuff to make sure that they have interesting personalities.
And it's
things
always
like
more
that.
entertaining when, especially with him,
Yeah.
with Gordon
Oh,
Ramsay,
God.
if the person is doing a bad job cooking.
No, that's the thing. They have. I think on Hell's Kitchen they hire stupid people because I watched the first episode. I'm dead serious.
Or
I watched-
actors who can play stupid people.
Or actors who play because I watched the first episode and on their signature dish challenge, someone used canned clams, and they
Oh, yeah.
didn't make their
Didn't-
own pasta.
yeah.
It's like, how many episodes has he done this and you don't do that? I
Well,
mean,
it's like American Idol. The auditions are actually like the second or third round of auditions
Yeah.
that you see. They let in the best and the worst.
Yeah, totally.
Because they want it to be interesting and people.
And I know with Project Runway, they keep the broken toys around, or they
Yeah.
put them in and bring them in as designers because it's much more fun if you have
Absolutely.
somebody that like is prone to temper tantrums in the
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
workroom.
yeah, yeah.
Makes more interesting television.
yeah.
All right, so the chat room's like,
Blah. Yeah.
PC versus PC conflict from Talon. Someone read it.
I'll read it. On the subject of PC versus PC conflict, I have found that keeping dice as far away from that SHIT helps immensely. When Mika, my fiance, and her best friend Amanda first played, they ended up in a bar fight. Good job. Mika was a dragonborn fighter, charisma 8, wielding an executioner's axe, and Amanda was an elf ranger half her size. They were both drunk in game and in real life. So when Amanda stated her character Airwolf swung at Mika's character Stab, and then they both proceeded to stare at me as if I'd started it, and then said, and I said, and then, in the style of Tappy's only foreign accent.
And
then? I sound like Scooby-Doo when I do it. I can't do it. There you go. 15 minutes of amazingly drunk roleplay later, Stab and Airwolf had made it from inside of the bar and out into the streets as I narrated a crowd of sailors and citizens that had gathered to cheer them on. Not a single dice was thrown. Thankfully, that shit hurts. Additionally, both characters ended up forming a bond afterwards. In my opinion, asking PCs to roll when trying to affect character is a cop-out. I think that's the correct... Turning the page. Spelling.
Yeah.
If a player is going to create party drama, then role play that. And yes, that means trying to kill characters off as well. Players know when the rest of the entire party has had enough of their shit. So he really likes that word.
He does.
So make up and help fix the problem.
Man up.
Oh, so man up. Sorry.
It does affect the
Yes,
sentence.
it totally does. So man up and help fix. By the way, okay. We'll get to
Sorry.
that in a moment.
Uh-oh.
And help
Triggered.
fix the problem.
Are you about to woman up?
I am about to woman up. And help fix the problem when they all start beating you in your sleep with soap and socks.
That's
Code-
from
Code Red.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal
Yeah.
Jacket.
Men.
Gomer.
Few good men.
Or Pile.
Pile.
Rabbit Pile!
Rabbit Pile.
So, Sin Merely, Talon.
Simez?
Sin Merely.
It's Polish. Okay. Watch someone say that and say Polish, and I need to Polish off this whiskey.
I think he meant to watch
Polish?
somebody mess it up and say polish instead of
Yeah.
Polish. Like,
Yes.
It's polish.
What?
Polish.
Like in the East Coast, it's polish.
Yes.
Now, I don't know about combat. I think combat, that needs to be...
You need to have dice. Yeah.
There's a game system that's already built for doing that. Let's
Yeah.
go ahead and just use it.
Let's use those
When
rules.
you're talking about, I'm going to roll my convince skill to convince another PC, I generally tend to agree. We've talked about PC versus PC conflict with that kind of, with social skills before, and I think the consensus was use the skills more to help, like, if I'm going to try to convince Stork's character to do something, and I'm a social character, I roll my convince roll or whatever it is. It doesn't convince you. It maybe allows you, the player, to give me some insight into why what might cause your character to change his mind, so I have a tactic I can use for that conversation, but it shouldn't determine it.
I think. Go ahead. No. Okay. I think PC versus PC conflict is awesome, and I think if it happens, it's great, especially when it's role played well. I think that you should probably, whenever possible, stay away from PC to PC combat. But that probably boils down to my personal views on fighting. But you should stay away from it. But if it happens, I think you need to follow the combat rules. I mean, like, there are a number of times, and I say this with all love to you that I have, Stork, but there were a number of times where my hand has been inches away from grabbing dice and rolling them and firing you off a little slack that says, I'm just going to punch him in the face. I can't, I'm going to punch him right, I'm going to jump, I'm going to crawl up his leg and punch him in the face. But I think you want to try and stay away from actual PC on PC combat whenever you can. I don't think that helps the role play in the game at all, but sometimes it happens.
It depends.
And when it does,
And the thing
follow the
is,
rules.
that is, why do we have game mechanics? Is to take situations that have an unclear outcome,
Yes.
and give them a clear outcome.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. If you have a situation where you have two player characters that are saying we need to go left, no, we need to go right, and they're getting to the point, and it gets to the point where they're actually going to fight over it, use the combat mechanics, have them fight over it. The guy who wins the combat, guess what? We're going left.
Or
It's-
when
you're-
one
you're-
character is being super disrespectful to the obvious Prince Empress of the islands, and she deserves more respect than that. Yeah, I
but-
think
but-
it's important though to
and you man slap him.
yeah. Why is it called man slapping?
Well, I didn't want to call it bitch slapping because he might take exception.
But
Oh, dear.
good point. But I think that
Walked right into it. Yes.
yes,
he's going to general
Here,
neutral
look at
slap
my-
somebody.
there's money in there. Unzip it. Go that way.
Here.
I'm stealing your purse.
Okay. All
Hold the
right.
curtain. Oh,
Hold
there.
the curtain. Hold it.
Yeah, I brought. Shut the door.
That's good.
That's good.
No,
No.
Yeah, no.
Thanks, Zach.
Stop.
No,
No.
you're fine. No,
stop,
that's fine.
no.
You're good. Thank you. Thank you.
Super professional.
Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria.
I heard the music a few minutes ago. I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. Saturday mornings, the ice cream truck drives by, and the kids
Up
always.
until my ear damage, I had pretty good hearing, and I would sit in the house watching TV or something, and Allie would come, "Can I have $1 for what? Ice cream?" I'm like listening. I'm listening, and all of a sudden, way out the distance, I had this tiny thing. It's got to be a block away.
Yeah. Oh,
And
at
I'm like,
least.
Oh my God! And little kids, their hearing.
Pavlovian.
Yeah.
Until you start screwing with it, their hearing is fantastic.
Yeah.
But getting back to the point,
Yeah, but getting back to the game, I think it's important to include the role play. Like you have to kind of explain what exactly are you doing, making it interesting, but you have to have the mechanics there. Because two people are not going to roll. I mean, there are systems, I guess, that allow you to do that, and even LARPing has some sort of mechanic to determine like whose hit lands first or hardest. So, like, if Stork and I had tried to role play out that combat the other day, how without that dice roll would we know who hit better?
You can't. There's no really fair way to adjudicate it except
Right.
with the dice.
you get down to, I totally hit you. No, you didn't.
But you.
Yes, you did.
Yeah,
No, I
like
didn't.
none of that succeeds as in
I
childhood
don't know if
role
that-
play, or
I don't know if that would happen at our tables. I think people would probably let the
True.
narrative inform it, but
we're
but
fortunate
generally
enough that we play with
speaking,
mature people.
but it's still a fairer way to.
Yeah, it is.
What you tend to do, this is just to sort of sum this up, because you do this all the time, you just forget that you do, is that you let them role play up to a point, and I've heard you even say, like, you're going to need to roll some dice now.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You get to a point where you decide, all right, because you could easily have said, I slap him. And it would have been fine, because that's all that I was going for. It wasn't going to turn into a full-on hit. I mean, and that would have still progressed the story forward.
Right.
But you were very good at letting them role play up to a point where you go, if you're really going to pull your sword out and hit him, you're going to have to roll, and we're in combat.
Right.
yeah, and
I just think it's fair.
yeah. Well, and it shows like how well you're role playing your character, because I really didn't know how your character would necessarily react to that.
Right.
I was kind of hoping for that. Well, thanks for that, but
But because like with a bar fight, you could role play that out without them ever having
Sure.
combat rules come out and stuff. Because really it's a role playing event where they're getting to know each other kind of thing, and that's I think that's fine. But again, it's up to you to go. If you're actually going to pull your sword out and swing at the bartender, now we're in combat.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It was all fun and games up till now.
Yeah, like they could like maybe it started that way, or like in this particular example, the bar fight, like they push. All right, I punch him, and if they're both like, one of them they said was Dragonborn, that's probably not going to hurt a Dragonborn super badly. But then if they start getting angrier, one of them like breaks a bottle in the bar,
Right.
like suddenly like it gets real.
It's up to the GM. I don't think you should immediately start in combat in a situation like this. I think you should let it go up to a point, and I can't tell you when that is, when you actually need to drop dice. But because I think it's more interesting and things happen quicker. And sometimes, like a bar fight is really just a kind of a character thing. It's a kind of a get to know you thing in this case, because they come swinging. It's like in The Quiet Man, if that big fight scene, if they'd actually literally killed each other, they wouldn't have had the big ending at the end where he sits down at the table and they're drinking. There's a point, I guess, where you can bring it in, but I think you need to wait. Let it role play out to a point where you then need to drop dice. I've said that 5 times, so I'm
Well,
gonna
and
stop.
watch your players, because in our example from our last game, like I pulled out the dice,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm gonna hit Stork, and your character, I said I'm gonna hit Albert. But so it's like if your players are at a point where they want to roll the dice,
Yeah.
like let that happen.
Yeah, I guess.
That was one of those times when my fingers were just like an inch from ready. I was
Yeah.
hovering over the dice, just waiting
I
for
pretty
the...
much figure you're ready to hit me at all times. Anyway. 'Cause
No,
you're
not
over here like, I
you.
hate it when you're right. I hate it when you're right. I hate it when you did that. I hate
Scully's
it that you
about
won.
that.
Yeah, not me. Scully.
Yes.
And
What?
no, because sometimes he just wants to try and use you for his own ends.
Yes. There's also this.
I
There's
hate
also
it when he
that.
doesn't let me do that.
Questions about gaming systems from Marco.
Greetings, Happy Jackers.
What? Marco.
Polo!
Thank you.
I love the podcast. I love the Polocast.
The Polocast,
I've
nice.
been deployed since March, and I'd like to let you know that your podcast has kept me sane all these long days, and especially on the days that I needed a good laugh.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you for your
service.
service.
Yes,
yeah.
very much. And again, I'm astonished at how many people in the military listen to this podcast and love role-playing games.
Yeah.
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 You guys are crazy, entertaining, and inspire me as a GM. Thank you for that.
Thank
also,
you.
I hope that you guys had a blast at Strategicon.
Always.
Oh my
That
God.
said, I have a quick question for you. Question the first. I have been reading The Expanse by James S.A. Corey.
Oh, it's so good.
And the GM part of my brain is going crazy with
Right?
game campaign
Right?
ideas.
I'm running a Traveler game.
Stu read them all. He made me read them all. We've all read The Expanse.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
I haven't. It's
New
on my
book
list.
comes out December.
Oh, really?
Yep.
All right. What system would you recommend, or rather, what system would you use to run an Expanse-inspired game? I know what Stu's going to say.
What
Take a
game
drink
am
if
I
you don't
using
mind.
to run it?
I believe I'll take 2. Really? Not GURPS?
No, Traveler.
I get that, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's. And the new Shiny just came out, which is the new version of it.
Yes.
But I think Traveler. It's a science fiction based role playing game that has various tech levels, and you can dial in. Like we're playing Tech 10, just when jump happens, but you could dial it back to Tech 9, and you've got domed cities on other planets. And
Where would the breakpoint be when you would say, I want to run a science fiction game, but I don't think I'm going to use Traveler. I think I'm going to use GURPS instead.
Well, you know what? For something like this, which is pretty much hard science fiction, GURPS gives you. I haven't read the whole book yet for Traveler, so I can't say that it doesn't give you this. But I know in GURPS that what are the rules for vacuum exposure, and what are the rules for this, and a lot of that stuff is there.
Yeah, because it's in there somewhere.
If it's not in the basic books, it's in the it's in the space. I can't remember what it's called. There's a space world book. I think it's called Space.
I think it is.
But
Space. It's a good title for that.
it is.
They tend to they're pretty
Generic.
self-explanatory, generic.
With their generic
What's
universal
their
references.
horror book called? GURPS Horror.
Or yeah.
Right.
Where can you get low tech weapons?
GURPS low tech.
The only reason I would go for GURPS in my mind is that, I don't want to spoil the books, but they're, you need to have a huge disparity in tech level. I mean, because there's something that is so far beyond where
Yes.
they're at that I'm not sure Traveler covers that.
It could. I mean, a lot of that stuff. I think the stuff you're talking about in that is going to exceed the limits of almost any game system.
That's why I thought GURPS would be good, because you can just, it's almost effing magic.
Is it like a tech level disparity? Is that it's so great?
It's a
that,
huge tech level disparity.
like amazing, like
I really don't want to say, but yes, it's a huge tech level.
And that's the
disparity.
thing that sticks in my mind, because you could then just pick and choose whatever you wanted from the GURPS book and make it applicable because it's effing magic.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. The closest thing you have to a magic system in Traveler is psionics.
Yes.
yeah.
But I mean, those are two I would look at. It really depends what you're going for, because the thing is, reading the book seems a little pulpier to me than the TV series. If you go by the book, you could run it. You could run it in Traveler. You could even run it in Savage Worlds or something like that if you wanted to. If you were gonna play the way the TV series plays, which is really gritty,
Yeah.
I would run it in GURPS, and I would give everyone low point characters because it's like you are just so everyone is out of their league.
And the book is much more Savage Worlds.
Yeah, it is.
It really is. There's a lot of sort of hand waving of act suits and stuff. It's in there, but it's not. There's no real ramifications.
I actually find some of the characters more likable in the books than I do in the series. Avasarala, in the books, she is my favorite character. When she is on screen in the books, I'm just like, I just love it. She is awesome. She's my favorite character. Don't like her in the movie. In the movie, she's much colder, more calculating.
Because the book, she's almost comedic.
She is.
Yeah.
She is.
My favorite was the
And
Marine.
profane. She's so profane.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Marine is my second.
Yeah, but it's basically Brianna Tarth. And it's the
It
same
is.
character type.
In fact, they probably should use the same actors.
Yes.
The chat room is suggesting Savage Worlds as well.
Well, yeah, Savage Worlds. If you were going to go with the tone of the book, you could totally go Savage Worlds because it's a little. The book to me is a little more lighthearted than the TV series. The TV series is really going for the hardcore dystopian sci-fi, whereas the series kind of skirts that, but is more. It doesn't become like space opera, but it does it is more sort of action packed, and it's probably a little more on the pulpy side. So, but if that's your frame of reference, is reading it, you could Savage Worlds in this one case would be an acceptable system.
My first reaction, to this would have been to actually.
I can feel them burning their pitchforks.
I love poking at the Savage Worlds people. It's a good system. It's a good system, and you could do that totally.
My
Oh,
first
sorry.
reaction.
The chat room is insisting that I give credit to Kadave, who gave out the Savage World suggestion in the chat room. I'm sorry for just saying the chat room. I'm supposed to call out names.
Oh, it was Dave.
It was Dave.
So my
There's a
first,
seat right there.
yeah,
Why aren't you here?
he can't. He's got a tribe to feed.
Yeah.
Oh,
does.
yeah.
My first reaction was actually, if they really wanted to do the research, was to go and find the old space opera game system, because.
God.
Oh my goodness.
Well, no, you say
Stork.
that, but nowadays that stuff isn't that hard anymore. I mean, rolling out the characters and stuff, but it
No,
addresses
it's
exactly
worse.
that kind of world.
Dude, it's worse because we're not
Last time
used
you
to
played
it. Okay, I'll just say this. I kicked in for the RuneQuest Classic Kickstarter,
Yeah.
thinking, oh my god, this is great. I get RuneQuest back. I'm so excited about this. I can't wait to run a game. I started reading through it. I was like, oh my god, how did I ever play this when I was a kid? It's nothing but
Charts. I'm like,
charts and math and
my
rules
God,
and
it's full
and
of charts.
like, nah,
I understand.
because I was thinking that too. I was thinking, wow, it sounds like space opera, but
That was Marco. Thank you very much,
Thank
Marco.
you.
Polo.
Response to Salty Guy from Gurkuman.
I think it's my turn.
It is.
Now, go ahead and start reading and I'll interrupt you.
Yes, okay. So different from any other email, huh?
I'm sorry?
No, it's him interrupting you, not you
Yeah,
interrupting
yeah.
him.
Hi, Stu.
Like right now.
Oh, nice.
Oh, thank you.
Good one. Oh. Hi, Stutanian and the Jacker Hounds. Insert.
Oh, I'm
annoying-
sorry. Hell's Kitchen, episode 5, not 4. You were
Oh,
correct.
5.
Yeah, knock,
I know
knock.
better than to correct you, so I just let you. Here's enough rope.
And it will air Friday, October 21st at 8 p.m. on Fox. Be there.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting Stu.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay, darn it. Oh well. All right. Hi, Stutanian and the Jacker Hounds. Insert annoyingly catchy or catchily annoying theme music here, and he provides a link for some YouTube music he wants to have
He
played.
actually supplied his own music.
He did. There's a soundtrack for this email. Firstly, thanks again for reading my previous email and for confirming that I was partially responsible for my GM horror story. Not getting that Section A in Section 1 was a Futurama reference, though. For shame.
Oh.
But on to business. Part 1, a rebuttal to Salty Guy. 2 weeks ago, a Salty Guy sent in an email to the podcast complaining about Stu's dislike of D&D. Both are entitled to their opinions. What frustrated me about the email was that it implied that D&D was all about treasure hunting, fighting, and min-maxing, something that Stu seemed to agree on. The difference in opinion was whether it was a good thing or not. I've played D&D from 3.5 all the way to 5th, and Pathfinder, also known as D&D 3.75, and I've had good experiences in all of them. All it takes is a DM and a party that enjoys character roleplay and a balance of combat and non-combat situations, and things tend to work out. Even combat doesn't have to be long, since you can simply make the enemies deadlier without being HP-soaking tanks. Again, this is not trying to say that Salty Guy is wrong for playing in a stats-crunchy way, or Stu is wrong for preferring other systems. I'm just trying to show that D&D has its place in the style of RPGing that Happy Jack's RPG podcast advocates, since, in my opinion, the style of role-playing is dependent more on the personalities of the RPG group and less on the system itself. I'm sure a Murder Hobo group could turn Fate into a Tomb of Horrors-esque dungeon dive, though I'm not sure I'd personally want to see it. I wonder what aspects Asarak, the Demi-Lich, would have. Anyway.
I believe it's Demi-Lick.
Oh,
And it would have aspects of phylactery, like all liches do.
Liches love the phylactery.
this is funny. Part 1-0. Binary joke. Huh, that's because 1-0 and binary.
I'm glad you're here.
My first joke. Or my first... Oops. My first character. I wanted to regale a story to you all, but as I need to do more remembering on my GM and player horror stories, I thought I would talk about my first ever character. It's a happy story for me.
Well, I can't find his email. Remember I told you I was going to interrupt you? Because he responded. The guy, the salty guy responded.
Salty guy responded, yeah.
And he basically was like, yeah, I was just kind of fucking with him, talking about me. But I don't want to put words in his mouth. I can't find his email, damn it. Oh, well, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay.
Never mind me.
I thought I would talk about my first ever character. It's a happy story for me since it was a fun experience, but not happy for him. But then we were playing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition, which is a great game.
Is it?
I think that is the pinnacle of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, is 2nd Edition.
Really?
A lot of miniatures.
No, that's 3rd Edition.
Oh.
2nd Edition was put out by Green Ronin and
Green Room.
Black Publishing Enterprises, I think. Black
There's a lot of colors to keep track of here.
Black something. But it was really good. It was Chris Pramis. He wrote it all, and it was an awesome cleanup of the 1st edition rules. It was very good. Anyway. I was playing as an acolyte priest called Gustav, and my other party member was playing a road warden, also called Gustav. We were the two Gustavs, and we were asked to ferry a parcel from one town to the other, unopened. As some of you listening may have guessed, it was an artifact of chaos. Dun dun dun! So we went back to the priest to confront him. He claimed to be part of an organization who collected chaos artifacts to keep them out of the hands of evil, and so they can study and neutralize them.
Ooh, I like this. I actually think that's I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
Thought that destroying the items would just cause chaos to go back into the world and make things worse. A heretical view, but an understandable one. And this is where the fun began. Because I didn't know that chaos was an actual immutably evil concept, and the words of the priest were beguiling to my character. He already felt the church was more than a little excessively orthodox and began to see himself becoming the Warhammer world's version of Martin Luther.
Fun.
Right? I see this going good places.
Yeah.
He decided to side with the priest. The issue was that Gustav the Road Warden was a goody two-shoes. And when my character tried to brain him so we could take him with us, he spotted me and shot me in the face.
Damn.
Ooh.
Then he took the priest prisoner and called for the witch hunter.
Ooh.
Eventually, the wound healed. My face is shot, wound healed.
It's happened.
What happened to your
there's
face?
real
I got
world-
shot.
Yeah, there's real world precedent for that.
Sure.
Eventually, the wound healed, and the witch hunter was waiting for me. He'd already taken testimony from the other Gustav, and he listened to mine. Eventually, he made a judgment. I had confessed, and he sympathized. I hadn't known what I was doing. The priest had deceived me, and that Sigmar would probably be merciful. However, the only option open to him would be my execution. And so, in the midst of his home village, which was in the process of being burnt to the ground, Gustav was led to the dock by the river, and while he tried to jump before he was shot, the aim of the soldiers was just too good. Well, with a character arc as good as that, it's no wonder that I'm still into the RPG hobby now. Thanks for reading, Joseph Gerkerman. P.S. The other I almost said the other Gerkerman.
Yeah.
The other Gustav bounced back from this, finding another traveling companion and going into further adventures. That is, until his friend went insane and began hallucinating a giant talking skeleton. But that is another story. P.P.S. Drank.
Woo.
It's drinking time.
I'm out.
There's a...
Oh, I don't want any of that. I have to record this afternoon. All right. That's it.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I forgot? Oh, don't forget 2 Happy Jacks links on 2 social media things.
Two links. Wow, I don't think we could have planned that better.
And I think that's it.
Probably. We would have been like, everybody use your right hand. Everybody, 2
Right.
links.
'Cause I used
And-
but see, I cheated in because I'm a
You tweet,
performer.
yeah.
I knew that the left hand because of the way. Otherwise,
Yeah.
it would have been here.
Good job.
And Mode of Sin tomorrow, 1 o'clock.
That's right. I should prep that.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
Or not.
And we're
It'll be
still
fun.
doing the Project Tutu, right? Or what are they calling it? Tutu Gate.
Oh yeah.
So if you
I
find
think I get
that,
enough.
yeah.
You want to do it with us?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
We're gonna cosplay Baby Metal.
If a certain tweet gets 100 tweets.
No,
Tights
I
and a
don't-
tutu.
I can't commit to that. I don't know if I.
You got great legs. Come on,
I
man.
have terrible legs, and I'd commit to it, and then I'd be busy, and then you guys would all call me out. Oh, Stork's busy.
Well, no,
but quote busy. I'm like,
Jim
Jim
said he was in, so we're covered.
Okay, we're good. Never mind.
Yeah,
We don't need you.
we don't need you.
You can come as the commie band, dressed in the white sheets.
What's that? Does anyone remember the actual exact hashtag for that?
There isn't a hashtag, it's a tweet. It's OMG. Proby Tim will wear a tutu for an upcoming
that's
Happy
how
Jacks
Twitter works.
episode.
Is it search Proby Tim?
Yeah.
All one word. It was one word, I think.
I don't know. It's
If you search
Stu,
Proby Tim, I doubt that combination of words comes up much on Twitter.
Stu made the first tweet on Happy Jack's Twitter.
Yes, I
so-
copied it.
Go
I
back.
copied over and I put it on.
I did look it up because there were some puns or something going on at some point, and I figured a utilitutu would be needed to be made.
Utilitutu.
Yes.
Yeah. I think we need to get Samantha to make utilitutus for all the guys. Not
And-
utilakilts, but utilitutus.
And I know you guys hate them, but for things like this, we always need to have our hashtag on there. Because some people are retweeting, but then they're retweeting it a different way, so it doesn't necessarily get caught in the little
What
thing.
hashtag?
I don't know. This one could be Tutugate or, but
The
always
Tutu Gate was used on the forum a couple times,
Okay.
so I
that would be good. But we always, whenever we tweet anything out about the show, we should always use Happy Jacks RPG as our hashtag.
You could go with the whole
Really?
Egyptian thing and have tutu comment.
Or you could just search for a large portion of that tweet string, and it'll tell you how many times it's come up.
I haven't been hashtagging my Happy Jacks tweets. I'll do that.
Make sure you put tons of them. 80% of your character count should be hashtags.
hashtags.
Generally
Not on
speaking.
Twitter. No, not on Twitter.
No, 80%.
Instagram, yes.
80% of your word count should be hashtags.
You have to do like 80 tweets to get a sentence
make
across.
them
So you have room
as
for one
obscure
word
as
and then a
possible.
bunch of hashtags.
The Zach on the chat room says, hashtag why tutu gate when you know
No
tutu
tutu gate,
have
no.
you know don't want to
Yeah.
tutu gates.
Yeah.
I think that's
Why
close something.
There's
problem
also
when
a
you
competing
no problem
tweet,
have
which
you
if the
don't want
competing
to
tweet
make.
gets, more tweets than the first tweet, then we won't wear tutus. So if you're really opposed to the idea of seeing Stu, Jib, and I in tutus, you can retweet that
Anti-tweet?
one.
No.
And you can
And
anti-tweet.
the anti tutu gate.
The
No
bottom,
one's going to do that.
the bottom line is either way the show gets a
All
bunch
right.
of.
All right.
And I found on Amazon, I found large men's black tights, which we'd need, and then there's red and black tutus.
Oh, nice.
Do that. The problem is going to be the torso stuff, because that stuff is
Yeah.
almost like armor.
Yeah.
You could do it just like a leather
We'll
biker
just
jacket.
we'll just
pretend.
bedazzle. No, we'll just
Yeah.
bedazzle like red tank tops or something. It'll be amazing.
No, but they wear long sleeves and have high collars.
Yeah.
Then we'll bedazzle turtlenecks. It'll be amazing.
You'll bedazzle them.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't you know what
Says
the
you.
All
All
right.
right.
Don't you know?
All right.
Can I
That,
end this?
yeah, we should probably end this.
Thank you for joining us for season 18. Oh, wait. I have music.
Ta-da!
Where is it? I know it's
Wait.
on here somewhere. Oh, no, it's on this page.
Stu's daughter. That's her elbow that you're looking
Thank you for joining us for season 18, season 17, episode 18 of Happy Jacks RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I am Proby Tim.
Stork.
Thank you very much.
She's the best.
And we'll leave you with a song. If you're listening to the podcast, we don't leave you with a song when we do the show on live.
No.